What's up, AMD Garage? It's Eddie from Automoto Direct, and this is the best ever. Sorry,
Yeah, the whole unibody. He made it all together.
We got nothing.
That's right.
Boom. Good buddy.
Thank you.
We needed something.
Hey everybody, if you want to check out something fun, come on in from outside, get out of the sun.
Get out of the sun.
All right, so we want to say a couple of thank yous before we get started. First off, there's so many other people than these two guys, but especially these two guys, Gary Case, Bobby Alloway, everybody in the Triple Crown of Rotting event. What a magnificent show for the second year. So please join me in giving a round of applause for the organization that has brought us this amazing event. Also for my AMD family for bringing this all and bringing everything for you guys and for Fenders That Fit. I really like that. So we're going to do a quick introduction for all of these guys, people that need no introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. So obviously to my left, Mr. Chip Foose started Foose Design in his garage. Does that sound familiar? Graduate? Yes. The Art Center College of Design, the Boydser, the Amber winner, Riddler winner, Good Guys Street Rod of the Year, Diecast Hall of Fame. I did not know that. Pretty fun. Overhauling, obviously, the Gone in 60 Seconds Eleanor cars, and most importantly, the Progeria charities and the benevolent things that you do. So thank you for that. So please recognize Mr. Chip Foose. And for the first time this year, Mr. Alan Johnson over here, Johnson's Hot Rod Shop, Gadsden, Alabama, in my backyard. Got his start in collision repair, Riddler Award winner, the Duesenberg. He's a parts manufacturer, Johnson Radiator Works, multiple magazine features, Good Guys Car of the Year, Shades of the Past winner, multiple prestigious awards. And if you want to see the craftsmanship and workmanship from Johnson's, right over there, right across the aisle. So we're privileged to have Alan Johnson here with us. Give us a hand. So Dave Kindig started in 1999, same year I started Paintucation, and has grown Kindig at Design to 10 seasons on Bitchin' Rides, and dare I say season 11? Yes. And the incredible CF1 cars, multiple products, great design aesthetic, Kindig at Design Shop, over 30 employees, is that right? 42 employees in the shop, that's amazing. Of course, with your educational programs, I'm a big fan of that. That's my focus these days. And the 2024 Riddler Award winner, Mr. Dave Kindig. Over here, Captain Steve, we call him. We all know him as Magic Mank. There's a movie about him, and his pants are not on. Anyway, he's a co-builder of the Michael Keaton Batmobile, so many other high-profile vehicles. He's an international show cars judge for 20-plus years. Is that right? And he was a co-host, worked with me at Power Block on Muscle Car TV, Search and Restore. He's one of my best friends, and he's the guy that knows everybody. So please welcome Steve Mank. He's also our co-moderator today. So what we're going to do is I've got a couple of questions. We're just going to pose questions. We don't have to pass a mic around today like we did last year. So we're just going to give everybody a chance to kind of chime in. This is a discussion. The thing that's really cool for me about this is that we get all these guys. They're here anyways. So it's a privilege to have everybody here having a conversation about hot rods. These are questions that have come up. We've talked about it a little bit. And there's some things I just want your opinions about this stuff. So the whole thing about hot rods, my first question, my first statement of opinion is, I guess it's a hypothetical question, and whoever wants to take it first, what is a hot rod? What does that even mean anymore?
Who's going to answer first?
Well, I always say the stock sucks. So I think anytime you take something that's original, not to say that all of those cars need to be modified, but it's cool to put your own personality into those vehicles. I mean, really, a hot rod to me is an extension of your personality. and it's something to hopefully create conversations, friendships with other people that have the same loves. And so I find it very passionate. I mean, we could all be sitting around here talking about dentistry, and that wouldn't be as cool as talking about cars, right? So at least this isn't a dentistry convention. And yeah, I absolutely love the people that I do the work for, with and for, and the people that get to enjoy the art. So, yeah.
If I were going to answer what I would say a hot rod is, you know, there's customs, there's street rods, there's hot rods, and what I look at is customs are, you know, you've lowered a car and you've modified the body. Street rods are something that you can drive and enjoy, and, you know, of course it's going to be better and faster than stock, but a hot rod is something that's got a lot of power in it, in my mind.
Yeah.
So no specific body style. It doesn't have to be a deuce fenderless or anything like that.
No, you can hot rod a Toyota if you want to.
Yeah.
Honda, anything. If you make it stronger, faster, and you know, it's got performance enhancements, that's a hot rod.
Yeah. And the performance and also the individuality, personalizing it on top of everything else. When you go by, everybody knows, hey, well, that's Alan's car, that's Chip's car, that's Dave's car, just by watching it go by, the personalization of it too.
So I just want to acknowledge the automotive cackle fest that's happening outside. You know, cue the dancing elves, right? So,
It's good timing.
Alan, what do you think, man?
Well, I mean, to me, hot rods, whatever somebody likes and enjoys that they can afford. I mean, my first hot rod was a Volkswagen. I couldn't have a 32 Ford when I was 15 years old. So it's anything that somebody enjoys and can modify and personalize and make it their own.
Yeah, I agree. It's a universal term. In my mind, it's a term of endearment. It's something that we look at aspirationally. I think it's a universal thing.
Well, look what Hot Rod Magazine was in 1948 when it came out.
Yeah.
It was anybody that was modifying a vehicle, they were putting that in the magazine to share with people what other people were doing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's always the most flattering part about it is when somebody sees what your vision is and it makes sense to somebody else other than just you.
Yeah.
I think that, again, it's one of those things that's like an extension of your personality and who you are. And when you meet somebody else that has that same eye or passion, or maybe it inspires them to do something kind of like that, but maybe a little different. And of course, you know, keeping the sport alive. So.
Yep. And by the way, we're going to open it up a little bit at the end. We got to be aware of time because everybody has a schedule here. But we're going to open it up to a few questions afterwards. So just so you guys know that, so stick around until we're finished. So. Got another question here. The whole hot topic, everybody's aware of electric vehicles. They're being embraced and they're not being embraced, and they're hated and loved at the same time. The only thing I'll say, I've never built an EV. I've never worked on one other than I painted a Tesla mirror once. But I've ridden in them in ludicrous mode, and by gosh, they're fun. But my question is, and again, it's hypothetical. Where do you see the EV thing happening in the hot rod world? What's your opinion? This is near and dear to you, I know.
Well, I do not own a Tesla, but I did get a little bit of a kick in the pants when I drove a Tesla-powered '58 Chevy truck on the autocross a couple years ago in Salt Lake at a Good Guys show. And what I didn't realize is the stock steering and stock brakes does not work well with 500 horsepower all electric. But I did figure out also just a slight turn to the steering wheel and give it some gas, and the truck would actually change the direction that you were trying to go. So about halfway through, after eating a couple of cones, I finally started figuring it out. At the end of that track, I almost crashed the truck because I come out of the thing trying to get a nice straight line, and of course, no brakes. And in the midst of slow motion, almost hitting the wall, I was like, I could probably buy this truck today, but I really don't want to do that. And I don't want to crash this poor guy's truck on television as well, because we were recording. But when I got back, I was actually getting ready to build my carbon fiber 53 Corvette, the CF1. And I had decided that I was going to talk to some people about doing some electric. So I worked with a couple of different companies, talking to them. I ended up going with a company called Hypercraft. Hypercraft had won the Baja 1000 a couple of years back with an Australian race team. And their performance has been kind of proven in that regard. So we ended up with a 5.1-to-1 gear ratio box, 2 Fi-Power 301 Swiss-made motors that they use in the Formula E race cars. This car is at 580 horsepower, but it has 3,650 foot-pounds of torque, 800 volt, and 60 kilowatts. A lot of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. In fact, I'm just rambling on about stuff that I've heard that I don't really know what I'm talking about either. but it is scary. I had it at the Radford Racing School last year and did a lot of test and tune with Hypercraft down there. And as fast as I wanted to go through my apexes, my exits, my entrances, the straightaways, I was over 120 miles an hour, and it was just smooth and not a sound, which is scary because I'm used to the sound when I'm on the track. And I got back, and adrenaline messes me up, as I always say, and I got out, and the guy that was doing the tuning, which was literally the most amazing person I've ever met in my life, a super nerd. And what a super nerd is somebody that can be in a passenger seat of a car and not throw up on a racetrack and not even look up. He's on his laptop making curve changes and everything as I'm going through my paces as a race car trained driver. And we get back, and I get out, and I'm shaking. He goes, "What'd you think?" I said, "Fast as I ever wanted to go." He says, "I got a confession." I said, "What's that?" He says, "I only had you at 38%. So if you don't get a chance to get a picture with me this year, you better hurry, because I'm going to get on the track next year with the car, and I hope to survive.
There you go.
Anybody else opinion? What do you think about an EV in a hot rod?
I mean, to me, the sound, you got to have the sound. I mean, I think it's cool what Tesla and Lucid and some of those companies are doing with the big horsepower. I've never driven one, but to me, I would think I'd be a little disappointed if there wasn't a lot of noise coming out.
Yeah. So just curious, give me a show of hands. How many people in here own an EV?
I don't.
Oh my God, I am the only one.
New topic.
Thank you, everybody.
I mean, like some of the stuff that Koenigsegg's
Safe to
doing
say we've
with
got a
his
polarized-
cars and
polarized
the
crowd.
new Corvette E-Ray where they're packaging the
Yeah.
electric motors with the gas engines. I think that's pretty cool, but you still got
What
the
do you
best
think,
of
Chip?
both
Would you build
worlds.
Sorry.
Well, as a designer, I like to say that there are no rules or laws in hot rodding or modifying a car. That's just another tool at your, disposal to build something really cool. And if anybody here have seen the E-Type that I built a couple years back, the green Jaguar, that originally was going to be an electric car. And I was excited about building it, but then the owner came in one day and he says, "I decided I want to hear the car." So we stopped the E project and we put a LS3 in it. But I'm not against using electrics. To me, as we just talked about the first question, you modify a car. Use all the tools.
Yeah.
I never want to put a rule or a law because that means you're limiting yourself. Don't ever put a limit on anything.
Yep.
Go for it all the way.
Well, that's how innovation happens.
Yeah.
Is people thinking outside of the box, new technologies. And that's kind of why I pose that question, is because it's a very polarizing thing. Nobody here is driving an EV. And, we won't get bogged down in federal mandates or anything like that, but there's rules of 2035 and EV production, all that kind of stuff. So it's a thing. That's something that we are going to be faced with in one form or another. And it's this thing. But what's interesting to me, it's the hybrid technologies, the hydrogen propulsions, what Mike Copeland at Arrington is doing with the hydrogen cars. That's what's really interesting for me, not just for hot rods and for custom cars, but for general personal transportation, which is never going to not be necessary in this country. I think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
We make other people's automotive dreams become realities. And you never know who your next customer or what their dream is.
Yep.
And if you tell them, "No, I'm not interested in building that," you just lost a customer.
Yep. Yep. And everything that we talked about with hot rodding, with modification and performance, electric vehicles have limited nothing. I mean, if anything, the power that they're getting out of, in this short period of time, out of electric power plants is insane. Like the very first electric vehicle I ever rode in, real quickly, I took a car out and delivered it to Drew Carey, his place out in Hollywood. And he had just, as I get there, received a brand new Lucid. That car was insane.
Yeah.
He started going down Mulholland, down into Hollywood, and I told him just stop, just drive normal. Not realizing, because I'm not real educated on him, not realizing that part of the braking is actually the deacceleration of the electric motor itself. And the stuff and the performance out of that electric car was astonishing. It was crazy. So, no, if that's what your thing is, and you're young enough, like I'm an old man at this game, but if you're young enough, and what that area has allowed in this short period of time, if it keeps going, I can't even imagine. Like, look how long it took us to get the advancement because of digital technology in gasoline motors. Now nobody thinks anything about 700, 800, 900 horsepower and more in a factory car. Well, when I was in my 20s and 30s, if you had a 600 horsepower car, it was violent. So what's going to happen with electrical? I mean, right now in its infancy, the power they're getting out of these things is nuts.
Instant torque, it's an on-off switch.
Yeah, yeah.
It's much like everything else. There's always a first time for everything. You're going to go to your buddy's house to work on your hot rod in his dad's garage because he's got more tools than you have. And instead of going in the garage, you go upstairs, get his 13-year-old little brother so he can come down and program your car to do burnouts. The 13-year-old knows more about the performance of the car than the dad.
Yeah, make no noise. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I've just got some softballs here, but the one of the things my buddy Tim Strange, actually, he was going to do a TV show called Street Rods Aren't Dead. Tim's a hardcore street rod guy. And I was going to ask, are street rods dead? Well, obviously not. We're looking at the show field. We walked the back 40 yesterday, the AMD team just talking to people, and there's so many outstanding fendered cars here. So I think I've answered my own question, and it's no, but I want to get your guys' opinion on the whole street rod thing. We see cycles. We see trends in the industry, and you guys are the trendsetters, let's just face it. You guys have your finger on the pulse of what your customers are looking for. So I don't know. Maybe you could just elaborate a little bit on your experience with maybe a ratio of cars. How many street rods versus muscle cars versus trucks? Can you elaborate a little bit, Alan?
Well, I mean, we still do a lot of traditional hot rods. I mean, we've got at least a dozen 32, 33s in the shop pretty much at all time. And same thing with the radiators. I mean, 32, 33, 34 radiators, it's 200 to 1 to anything else that's going out the door. So we still see a lot of it, but we're also seeing a lot more late model stuff, in the 50s and 60s. And I'm doing an 80 Trans Am for Angie right now. So I'm getting more into stuff that I wanted when I was a kid. I mean, which is what we've done for everybody all through these years. We're building what cars they couldn't have when they were a kid. And, but a lot of shops are not seeing the old stuff like that anymore either. It's all later model 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Well, we're still building traditional hot rods, and we're doing muscle cars, and you're seeing the 70s, and then you've also got some of the 80s cars that are coming back. And of course, you guys are building parts for some of these, but to me, it's interesting when you see. I called them, the difference for me was hard part versus soft part cars when they started making urethane bumpers. I always liked the hard part cars that had chrome bumpers and pieces that you could pull off a car and put a little elbow grease and restore that part, have it re-chromed, put it all back together. But the urethanes, some of those urethane bumpers, they're junk. And then you had to go find something, or you had to patch it up on the back and then pull a mold off it and make a fiberglass or a carbon part, or rebuild the whole thing out of steel. So there's a lot of cars that we haven't seen that we're starting to see now. So that's exciting to me.
I agree. Who knew that a Fox Mustang was the next muscle? Well, obviously it's the next muscle car, but it's the next literally classic muscle car that's happening. So the whole Fox platform is emerging as AMD. There's several other manufacturers that are making parts for these cars. They're great cars, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had thrill rides in my buddy's Fox Mustang. It scared me a bit of new buttonhole in the seat in the passenger side. But so it's interesting. It's going to happen, and there are urethane bumpers in those cars. So I think the new emerging technologies, and this is going to lead into the next thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about or ask your opinions on, the way that companies are able to pivot and develop new parts to replace the urethane bumpers. Urethane is a booger bear to repair, even in collision. Now with the PB class, or the plastics, and then the thermoset plastics and late model plastic fascias, they're easier, but it's a throwaway part. But what's happening now, what I'm seeing there's kind of a new crop of guys, a new generation of technicians that are coming up, and we're seeing 3D printing, we're seeing metal 3D printing, we're seeing CAD design. Handheld CAD scanners are now affordable, right? I'll never forget, they came to PowerBlock with the Faro arm, right? And they had to hide it. They had to close the building because this thing was proprietary. Now you can get a handheld scanner on Amazon. So tell me a little bit about how you guys develop parts. Alan, you've got a vast product line. Dave as well. So walk us through maybe your thought process, and Chip, you as well, but of how you come, first of all, on the need for a part, and then how you go through maybe the R&D process and get it into a production model. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, for us, I mean, I've done everything from the hardest way possible with zero tools to, the first complex sheet metal part I ever made, I beat it out on a piece of wood with a welding bottle cap because I didn't have anything else to use. But we started scanning stuff 17, 18 years ago and using 3D printing parts, and now that's gotten way more cost effective. I mean, we would use 3D printer at our local tech college that was a $500,000 machine that would do a 8-inch square part. Well, now you can buy a $2,000 machine that'll do a better job of that for less money. So,
Yeah. Are you doing a lot of prototyping?
Yeah, the scanning of parts and building things in the computer has changed this industry immensely.
Yeah.
It used to be it was all you had to have real craftsmen to build anything.
Yeah.
Now you just have to have good assemblers and painters and people that can finish parts, because you can scan the front end of a car and then redesign it in the computer, 3D printer, or cut it on a CNC mill or lathe, and it's made the industry, to me, much more exciting, because a lot more people are doing things outside the box.
Because I thought you were going the other way. I thought you were going to say you're mad at the technology because it pulls back the craftsman.
No, it's another tool to help everybody.
Yeah.
But it's allowed a lot of other people into the industry to build, because they don't have to have the knowledge of how to build something. But it's exciting for me to see all the new people coming in doing really cool stuff and changing the industry. So you're seeing stuff that looks much more technical, and you're seeing things that can't be done by a craftsman. It has to have a computer and a tool to make all this stuff. So to me, it's, as I said, it's another tool, and it's allowing a lot more people to do things on a costly, before it would have taken way too much money to build it. They can do it now, It's shortening the time frame, and it's allowing people to get into it.
So Dave, I watched, it was a YouTube interview when you guys were at Auto Romp. No, you were in Detroit. And you were talking about all the handmade stuff on the car, on the 12 Air. It was mind-blowing, man. So can you please give us a little bit of under-the-skirt insight on that?
Oh, sure. So, there was a lot of technology actually involved in that car, but we basically built a fiberglass buck out of an actual parts of the 53 Corvette. We 3-inch to 0 sectioned it. We did obviously the top layup was done in a wireframe foam, fiberglass bodywork that out. Was able to take patterns, 3D scan it with our Faro 3D scanner arm, as well as the handheld, and put it in the computer just so we had that information. We was also at that point able to build a buck. The buck basically was just a big egg crate that we were able to put together. We can modularly take it apart, stuff it in a corner, just in case we need it again. That was done for both the floor section as well as the outer section. So all these parts basically were developed in the ideas on paper by hand, which is really where I love to be. That's my place. And then put into Will's hands and Greg's and a couple other guys. And basically we were able to model and then start to build those bucks and those other pieces that we were definitely going to need. So, but it was all hand fashioned out of aluminum. It's funny to look at the videos that you'll see in this season. There's 8 episodes. And at the very beginning, there's a fiberglass, what looks to be a junkyard car in the corner of my CNC room where we luckily was able to hide the car for 4.5 years building it with multiple road tours starting there and so forth. But basically, you see just a stack of 4x10 sheets of aluminum, and that whole car started as that. So the Craftsman, definitely that's all done by hand, and it's very hard to find the quality of guys that can do that. But also, I think the technology kind of led us to the point where we were able to get the perfection of that car, whereas, a lot of times just whittling this stuff out and rolling it out on an English wheel and shrinker stretchers and so forth and bead rolling, all of that stuff, you got to be really good at what you do to be able to match left to right. Whereas a computer, you can actually make a buck 3D printed or milled on the Cam Master on the 3-axis CNC and glue it together and use that as a buck. And so there's a lot of great things that comes with the technology. Also, the interior, scanning the inside of a hand-fabricated car, knowing where all the points are, and being able to go back and design the interior, 3D print it, wrap it in leather, and actually install it as if it was a factory piece. And so where I was really against the technology earlier on, 5-6 years ago, I thought it was more of a one more step that we didn't need to do. We're going to build it one time. Why are you wasting all this time? To, I'm really glad we have that information. It's not that we're going to build it again, but it actually sped up the process. The process, we were after perfection, and that's really one way to do it, is to know that it's equal left to right because of the computer design, and then the craftsman actually looking at it and judging it and making sure that it was perfect.
So are you finding you have to retrain your existing technicians on this new technology, or does it bring in a new crop of guys that are computer savvy, that are gamers, that are, to me, it's a threshold and a gateway into a new generation of craftsmen, of hot rodders. What do you think?
Well, it's a great question. I think it's actually a perfect mix between the two, because we want to keep the generations that are coming up in the hot rod and the customizing industry involved in it, and of course their technology. It's kind of like, I look at it as like skateboarding back. I'm 53 years old. When I fell off the back of a half pipe, it hurt. These kids just get up and go again. Gravity doesn't do anything to them, and it's like the learning curve. It's like, I don't understand anything when it comes to my phone, but I can have my daughter, she can do anything, my son can do anything. And so having that newer generation with the technology and the abilities that they have to come in, that's very important, because they share with the older group that's been there for 20 plus years at my shop. And cross-training is something that I've always been very passionate about. I want the guys in the body shop to know what goes on in the metal shop, so that they know what to look for, not just to cover over the top of something that they should have caught and maybe fixed. And vice versa. When I got my metal guys finishing stuff up to move over to the body shop, I want them to understand what the process is over there, so they understand what they're supposed to be doing. The gaps need to be perfect before it goes to the body shop by the metal guys. And so that collaboration between the two, and all those teams coming together and having meetings, who's getting we're passing the baby from one to the other. We need to know exactly what we're expecting and what the next guy's expecting after that. So cross-training has always been something really good, but bringing the new generations in to teach the old school guys, I think is very important.
So let's talk about new technicians. How do you guys find people? I mean, it's a huge problem in our industry. Younger people coming into it. What do you do? Recruitment techniques? Do you use placement agencies, or do you use word of mouth to get new guys for your shops? What do you?
I mean, for us, it's pretty much always been word of mouth. The last, and to be honest, I haven't added a whole lot of new employees in the hot rod shop over the last 8-10 years. I mean, we've got a great core group there that I don't want to mess the symmetry up of what we have going, but it's basically all been word of mouth. And
You got 40. How do you find them?
I drink a lot.
You can. It's hard.
What do you mean you can't?
It's by far the most difficult part of my business, is to, I've always felt that inspiring people to go and live their dream, I think, is very important. So you can't really take away from somebody that wants to go and start their own business that's worked for you. They got the experience and the name. And I really do cherish the people that have been with me for well over 20 years. Adding to the shop is something that is always the most difficult, because I have a very large appetite for creating new things. Of course, the CF1s, I'm now licensed from the National Highway Travel Safety Board, so I'm generating 17-digit numbers, and I'm able to manufacture those cars. So I almost need to buy another building and just move that completely out, so we can continue to do the one-off cars. The production on that thing is really taken over. I'm doing 12 cars per year at this point, which is a dream come true, to be able to actually produce something that we can do over and over again. My experience before I started the hot rod shop, my Condiga Design, I worked for Jeff at High Performance Coatings for 8.5 years. And when I got there, I started at the very bottom, just sandblasting headers. But I watched the process, I learned the process, and I got very quick at making quicker turnarounds on headers and so forth. It's actually back when I met Chip when he was working for Boyd. And, knowing how to do production was something I was always passionate about. And I was like, man, that would be really cool if I could one day actually just build a turnkey car. I can build that car in 3 months, whereas everything else is 12, 14, 16 months, and maybe 4.5 years. So being able to turn those cars around, be creative with them, but actually have a fixed number so everybody knows what they're in for, and being profitable on them and being able to grow that business that way, I think has been really, really great.
Well, hopefully we'll places like this, events like Triple Crown, I see a lot of young faces. There's a lot of young people here. There's a lot of younger crowds. There's a lot of current trends. There's a lot of non-traditional hot rods. I'm absolutely loving it. There's a lot of great vehicles too.
Being the old man on this panel and watching so many things through 45 plus years of doing this, back to the comments you guys just made, the thing that I love most about all the technology, even though being a more traditional working guy, if that's what you want to call it, because of my age and my longevity in it, I'll use more traditional stuff, so I'll use stock sheet metal, whether it's a whole panel or a piece. But the fact that our businesses have become this huge industry that allows people that develop that technology to look at our market says so much about how big this has gotten, how worldwide it is. Just for them to take that technology and bring it into our world, it's got to be massive or it's not worth the effort or the money. And everything that we're getting because we have become such a huge industry is just amazing to me.
So nobody's got a crystal ball. Nobody can see the future, but we gotta have our eye on trends, right? Color trends, things like that. What do you guys see coming as far as the next horizon, the next thing coming up in our industry? Pickup trucks, I don't know, Suburbans, minivans. What do you think?
I mean, just like what I was talking earlier, it's going to go to what people couldn't have when they were young, starting a family. I mean, and it's going to keep changing. I mean, it's going to be the 90s car. I mean, we're already seeing that with trucks now, where everybody's building trucks in the 90s. Or it's going to continue changing to what somebody wanted. But now some of the new cars that's out today, I don't know where that's going to be 30 years from now, 40 years from now. But
It's the product developers and the people that are supplying all the builders with parts. Like, you can go back to the 90s, and a big diameter wheel was a 16-inch wheel. You know, and then Goodyear started prototyping some tires for Chrysler, and Chrysler did the Prowler. That was a 20-inch wheel, and we got 20-inch tires from Goodyear at Boyd's, so we started making 20-inch wheels. And that was a huge change. But you look around here, everybody's got them. You know, it's the availability of products that changes this industry. And now, like, you're going to have your square body truck. You know, you're going to start seeing a lot more square bodies.
For sure.
You know, it's when this stuff comes out and it's brand new and all the builders want to get in on it. You know, that's what drives what we're all doing, is the availability that all the producers, you know, you go to SEMA, that's where you see the first time you're seeing some new stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody's walking around, oh, I want to do that. You want to be the first, you want to be trendy.
Yeah.
But for me, when it comes to colors and things like that, whatever I see happening, I go the other way.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever be trendy, because that's the first thing that'll date a car.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do exactly the opposite of what I believe everybody else is doing.
And the whole decade of the 80s is a great example of that. Being old enough to remember that.
I thought those were fun colors.
They were. You know what's crazy is now if you go to swap meets and stuff like that, and a lot of the old pastel color stuff and the billet stuff is sitting on tables, and the money guys are getting for that stuff is crazy. Yeah, they want it all back now.
So are you going to build a boogie van with a bubble window and shag carpet?
No, but it's funny that you should bring that up. You tell me that there aren't a whole bunch of 70s custom vans all of a sudden showing up around this country, especially in the Midwest. They're everywhere.
I was hanging out with the Greening group last night next to one with side pipes, a little short Chevy panel van, and the carpet was so dirty. I don't even want to know what happened to that van. It's never been messed with. It is so cool.
So is AMD going to do a van?
Jason, are we doing a van? Oh, mum's the word.
I was just curious.
I don't know. I would buy one.
I'll build a van.
Yeah.
Do it Smokey Unix style and take it down to like 7/8.
Steve lives in a van.
Still.
Down by the river.
Yeah.
And a couple times a year, it's usually a week or two at Chip's shop.
Well, I think to your point, the fact that we can buy a complete square body Chevy truck cab, new. We don't have to worry about cab corners, floor pans, anything else. It's an interesting place, and to me, it's an exciting place in this industry. Not everybody needs a full body, but you can get a Mustang, and you built a Blazer. I can't remember what season it was. Now you can get a full body Blazer. I think the Premier Street Rod guys are doing it. So it's a really interesting point in time in the industry for me, and it's super exciting because if you don't know how to weld, it's okay. You can still build a cool truck. You can get a chassis or a stock chassis and rebody the silly thing. A square body you can bolt together, right? So
There's people using panel bond now to put steel
Yeah.
cars together.
yeah, when I was still in collision, it was a combo of panel bond, tack to corners, and you get it out. So your bedside that took 10 hours is now a 2-hour swap.
Some of the manufacturers don't want you to weld panels. They want it bonded.
So, yeah, good question. Do you guys use panel bond in your hot rod builds?
Yes, sir.
I haven't yet. It's only been 45 years.
I'm not sure. I don't work in that department.
I plead the fifth dimension.
I use markers.
To me, it's another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
You can literally join dissimilar substrates. You can have a set of steel fins on aluminum fender or vice versa, plastics, all that type of stuff. To me, it's another tool in the toolbox. So for me, when I'm building cars or trying to innovate stuff, my collision days come back in, and those tools, those efficiency tools, come into whatever I'm trying to do. And I've bonded on cab corners and some accessories and things like that. If you follow the SOPs and do it right, it's going to stay forever.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything wrong with that technology. But Alan, I listened to an interview with you, and you talked about, when we were talking about trends, you talked about what's in style, what's out of style. Tell us the quote about the Brooks Brothers suit, because that was really wise.
That was Pete Chaporis told me that. I mean, Pete was talking about what was tradition, what was stylish. He said, look at a Brooks Brothers black suit. He said, it's the same thing from 2000, 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, and it's still in style. It'll be in style 20 years from now. He said, build a car that way, and it's never going to go out of style. But you can't always limit yourself to that. I mean, Chip, stuff you've done through the years, and Dave, it's just pushed the limits so far past what anybody was doing at that time. We'd still all be building stuff from the 50s if nobody done that. So
Anybody got anything to add? Steve, you're awfully quiet back there.
I know.
Too much bourbon last night?
I'm still learning. I'm 65, but I'm still learning. That is a God's honest truth. I'm always looking for the next project. I'm always chasing the next thing. And, I look at all the different ideas, and I love doing projects, and I mean nothing by this, that aren't the next or another Mustang, Camaro, Chevy, this off-body stuff, crazy stuff, whether it's a Nash or whatever, or an old Chrysler that came from the 50s or 60s. I still like to find that there's not 1,000 of them, and get through, because a lot of times everybody that builds knows if you find something like that and it gets you make a lot of parts, because if all of a sudden there's one of 8 Nashes left, you got to make something. I mean, I still love doing that.
Yeah. So rapid fire question. Everybody gets this. What's the weirdest car you've ever customized? Go.
Tube chassis Nash Metropolitan.
Okay. Dave?
I haven't got that one yet. The Ugly Bugling, 40 Ford fenders, chop top, Heb Mueller coupe, 3-window. It doesn't exist, but it's been sitting in the top of my other building on the top of the lift for about 15 years. I haven't touched it. So I need to get back to it. Thanks for reminding me.
I want to add one more thing, Kevin, if I could, only because, and it's worth it. I still have one more Nash that I swear I'm going to get to before I assume room temperature that Gene Winfield and I chopped.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's you need to follow through that one.
It's sitting in Tana's horse barn.
Okay. Chip, weirdest car.
That's an interesting question to me, because you find different cars, and I'm going to give a little credit to Hot Rod Magazine when they said "Dare to be different."
Yeah.
That really changed the industry, and people started doing some different stuff. But what I really enjoy doing is designing and building from scratch. Like the Impression and a lot of the cars that I did at Boyd's. When you ask for something, weirdest car we've ever done, well, it's designing and building something from scratch and building something that never existed but looks like it could have. That's what I enjoy doing.
Right.
But as far as the weirdest car, I did a deal with Gray Baskerville, who was with Hot Rod Magazine, for one of the April Fool's issue of Hot Rod Magazine, where I did a Vespa little tiny car. And I think I did 4 different versions, and in the end it was April Fool's. But that's a pretty unique little car.
Okay, you won
up.
up
You could park
there.
it on just that table right there.
Alan, you got a candidate?
I mean, I guess the weirdest thing we've ever done would have been a 37 or 8 gram shark nose 4-door car. That's been 25, 27 years ago for a guy that started Specialty Power Windows in South Georgia.
What about you, Kevin?
Okay, so you said Vespa. So the very first TV series I did was on DIY Network when they still had automotive. This was in 2004. And season 1 was a Harley Electric Drive, 65 Electric Drive, pivotal motorcycle, because it had both electric and kickstart last year. Anyway, and then we did an Airstream trailer, incredible story on that. Wally Bynum, The History of Airstream, an American success story. Really interesting. Season 3, Vespa scooter. I was so sad. Until I started to dive into the history of Vespa and the innovation of that, and how the Italian munitions factories had to shut down after World War II, and the suspension design is aircraft. Everything is interesting. It's a car that you sit on. The whole design characteristics of the Vespa were to compensate for bombed out roads in Italy. So it's really interesting history there. And then I learned about the Vespa gangs. You guys know about the Vespa gangs? These are gangs of hundreds of Vespa guys that will kick your butt.
Scary.
Yeah, they are scary. so you talk about, Harley Davidson, motorcycle gangs, all that kind of stuff. No, it's legit, man. They're real. They'll hurt you. So anyway, so it was a fun thing. So by the time we finished that series, I loved these Vespas. We bored and stroked the little single-cylinder engine, and we could pop the front wheel off. So because I was not afraid to dive into it, because it was frankly my job and I didn't want to quit, I got to learn about it. So I took down my filters and was humble enough to learn about the history of it. So it was kind of a cool thing.
Have you ever seen the car? The Vespa car?
I don't know. I've seen the trikes with the pickup bed.
All right, I'm Googling it.
This was
Hang
a
on.
car.
No, I haven't.
Four-wheel car, Vespa.
Wow. All right. So this has taken a really weird turn, hasn't it?
Who would like to order a Vespa car, real quick?
Right. Yeah. Or an electric Vespa.
No.
So that's an EV, right? Electric Vespa. So real quick, everybody, if you could give us a kind of a glimpse. Alan, we'll start with you. What's coming? There it is. Oh my.
It's got a
Reverse
little
opening
squeaky
doors,
toy on
suicide
the-
doors on it. So suicide takes on a whole new connotation when you know the size of that car in traffic.
I've never seen one.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen one.
Wacky. Yeah. I was going to say, tell us what's coming down the pike for Johnson's Hot Rod. What are you doing now? What can we expect to see over the next year from you guys?
Well, I mean, we're still doing a lot of 32 Fords. We've got 51 Merc in the shop right now, 71 Duster, which is kind of a odd car, but it's going to be a really neat piece with what we've done to it. And going back to like what Chip was saying, I mean, I want something to look like it could have been that way. I don't want to change stuff just for the sake of change. If it looks like it could have come that way, to me, that's the way we try and build stuff. But it's a good mix of everything right now. We just finished up a 51 Suburban for customer last year, the 57 Pontiac wagon that's up here this weekend. But nothing unusual for us right now anyway.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, man. The Safari two-door wagon. There's a formal name for it, but I mean, it's amazing, man. You cite the panels, you look at the gaps. Outstanding work. So thank you for that, for bringing your craftsmanship forward, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Chip, what's up? What's coming?
In our shop right now, we've got a 56 Ford pickup with quite a few body modifications. Got a 62 Corvette, same thing, on a Morrison chassis. We've got a 55 DeSoto we're working on. We've got a 53 Olds convertible that was customized by George Barris's shop in 1958. And I just recently went up to the state of Washington and we pulled it out of a garage. It had been in there since 1972. We brought it back to my shop, and all I'm doing is preserving this car, trying to keep everything that was done by Barris and keep it honest. And we've got absolutely everything on that car is now working, other than I haven't put the master cylinder back in it yet. And I'm hoping that next week we'll start driving it. We're going to shoot some videos with. Now I'll tell you, the guy that originally had Barris build this car, he parked it in 1972. He had 3 sons that were born after that. And all of their lives, they were told, do not touch the Olds. Not one of them has ever sat in this car. They had never seen it out of the garage, and they had never ridden in it. So we're bringing them down. They're going to go for a ride with Joji Barris, George's daughter. So the sons of the owner are going to ride with the daughter of the builder, and we're going to video that. That'll be another one of the videos for that project. But it's so cool that the way this car was built in 1958, painted by, what was his name? Dean Jackson at George Barris. It's candy apple red. They never polished it. It's just a gun finished paint job. Dean Jeffries did all the graphics on it and the pinstriping. He signed the bottom of the rear spare tire cover and also the hood on the car. Still got Jeffrey's 58 on both the front and the back. And it's just cool that I'm able to preserve what was actually done. Now, it'd be real easy to take a buffer and repolish this paint job, but it's gun finished. You can't buff it.
No.
You can just clean it.
Okay,
And
if we
that's all
do
we're
this
doing.
again next year, Chip has to sit here. How in the heck are we going to follow that? Explaining with what we're doing. I mean, I'm going to lunch.
Well, then we got a complete all handmade 36 Ford 3-window coupe that's in the shop right now. I've got another 32 Ford Roadster. We've got 56 Chevy post car that we're finishing up. Then we got a 57 Continental. They only came as coupes. We cut the top off. It's going to be a full-time Roadster. And then we got a 69 Camaro that we're doing in there right now.
So you're kind of taking some time off here and there.
2023 Camaro and a 2021 F-150. Got a few cars.
So on the Barris car, I've seen some of the stuff on your YouTube. So I'm following you. By the way, I subscribe.
It's so
But-
cool to be a part of it.
Well, yeah, and the whole YouTube. You can find all of these guys on YouTube. YouTube is a really interesting thing. It's a way for us to tell more of the truth. So it's really cool.
It's fun. I found that car in Hemmings Motor News, and I called the owners and I talked to them and I said, look, I don't want to own your car. I'd love to own it, but right now I can't afford to own your car. But I would like to bring some attention to it, and I'd like to help you sell it. I knew it had been parked for over 50 years, so I wanted to be the guy that pulled it out of the garage and preserved it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. You know, we signed a deal. I went up, I pulled it out, and they said, we can't wait to see, you know, how your new paint job looks and all that. I said, no, I'm not restoring it. I'm preserving it.
Yeah.
This car should not be
Yeah.
restored.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other Barris Customs from the 50s era that are unrestored.
No, and that needs to stay the time capsule
Exactly.
that it is, for sure.
It's amazing. Like, they painted the whole engine compartment gold.
Yeah.
But when they painted it gold, they simply just taped off the firewall, you know, up on the cowl, taped off the fenders,
Yeah.
and they painted everything gold, including all the wires, everything. The fan belts, everything, the rubbers.
does.
Sounds
It was
like
just
one of my classes.
painted gold.
By the way, I just want to say out loud, thank you for doing that, for doing your job as a steward of that car. It's important to have that heritage and those touchstones to preserve it.
Without those cars having been built then,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here today.
No.
So it's fun to preserve that history
Oh, it's
to
important.
see where we came from.
Yeah. Dave, what you got comment other than winning Riddlers? Hello.
Well, I'm just getting over a 4.5-year relationship with a red Corvette, so I'm taking a little bit of a break from the full fabricated. Other than we've got a '69 Camaro, we've stretched the wheelbase, wide bodied at front and rear. It's got about 1,150 horsepower, full chassis, and it's gonna be pretty crazy. I was challenged to build the ultimate Camaro. What I was wanting to do though is I didn't want to do another resto mod or something that's been overdone over and over again. So I'm trying to create a new category called a mod rod, where we use a little bit more of modern accents, but still keeping it looking like what it was originally. But just more of a cartoon, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So you'll have to stay tuned on that one. Got a couple of Jason Johnson's cars in that I'm just having a great time building. A 57 Olds, Super 88. It's got an LT5, Roaster Shop independent chassis, 6-speed. That one we're calling 57 Sauce because we're going to crank it up to about 850 horsepower. He loves his horsepower. Got a 69 Super Bee we're calling the Killer Bee. That one's running a Joe Gibbs racing engine. Again, independent chassis from Roadster Shop, 6-speed. A lot of metal finish on that one. We're going to keep the sides looking pretty standard. The roof, we're going to smooth off the rain gutters a little bit and then address the front and rear fascias. But it's going to be really a cool car. CF1s, I've sold 29 of those cars. We've currently got number 13 ready.
29?
29. I'll close the deal on number 30 on Monday. And thank you. Right now we're sitting at 2 body styles. We have the Roadsters, which are basically just a full-time Roadster, no side glass, no wipers, no door handles. We did really well with those, but I wanted to incorporate something for guys that really needed a top. So we redid the windshield, put side glass, wipers, door handles, defrost. We have an example here that we debuted a couple years ago for Tom, number 6. The cabriolets are really nice. The roof weighs about 13.5 pounds. It's all carbon fiber. Alcantara headliner. Absolutely zero noise in that car when you're driving down the road. It is crazy how well we was able to get that sealed up there. So we're doing a lot of those. I've got a third and fourth body style. The third body style is a Nomad wagon version based on kind of the Motorama 1954. Of course, it's going to be my car, not a 55 styled wagon version. And then the fourth body style will be a fastback. So, and I got the first one. I don't care what anybody says. I'm taking the first one because I quite love it. We've got a lot of other vehicles in the wings. A couple really nice muscle cars we're just finishing out. I've got a couple of Volkswagens, including one for myself. I finally pulled the trigger on building a car by myself in the shop. I'm doing a little 63 convertible Beetle, and it's got a 2276. My goal is to try and ride a wheelie and scare the hell out of Kevin because he doesn't like Volkswagens. So that's my goal. I got my long laundry list of making him cry, and that's going to be the next one. After that, we've got, like I say, I've got a long line of other vehicles waiting to get in there. We've got some really special projects. Got a 36 Bugatti, which we're going to be very excited to get going on. We'll probably wait until about a year and a half to start on that one. The Mercedes Goldwing actually sold that for Rich Buckley to a gentleman out of New York that owns Cooperstown, and we're putting carbon fiber doors on that because they were a little heavy. Just a great guy. I've got some great collectors we're building some really cool stuff for. So I'm very excited for the future. We've got a lot of really cool opportunities.
Well, we're excited to voyeuristically watch you, and I know you let the cat out of the bag a little bit in Detroit, but there's going to be, you can be vague about it if you need to, but there's a build series on the 12A, right?
Yeah, so season 11 kicks off in October of Bitchin' Rides on Motor Trend, and spoiler alert, don't tell anybody I told you because I think I get in trouble for this, but there's 20 episodes, and 8 of which is the build over the last 4.5 years of 12 Air, our Riddler car. And we're very excited, very proud of it. The guys did a wonderful job on the car, and we can't wait for the next opportunity to do that, but stay tuned, it's coming.
Steve Mank.
Well, first,
Okay.
I've got to thank you and AMD for giving me the honor of following Alan, Chip, and Dave for commentary. But no,
You can make stuff up.
What?
Tell us about the car you're going to the moon with.
Yeah. But no, I've been lucky enough to have done stuff in our industry with everybody at this table. But one thing that's going on for me for the first time ever, I've been involved in a lot of projects at different levels with Riddler cars, AMBR cars, some stuff with Chip at SEMA and stuff. But for the first time, because it finally became available at home, I'm going to have a car out of my shop at SEMA this year. We've been accepted. It's going to be there. So for me, it's going to be a big deal because I've been so privileged to be in there so many times with a handful of other guys and see actually what it takes, the work, the skill level, and everything else. To have one be accepted out of my shop, which we've been spending the last couple of years doing, along with everything else, is pretty big for me, especially for the first time at 65. And it was by choice. I chose to do so much of the other stuff because of who I got to do it with and the opportunities that came up. And I never chased this. It all fell into place over the last couple of years. And I'm nervous and excited about getting my butt to SEMA for the first time. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Have you got a couple of minutes for some questions from people?
Sure. Yep.
We good? Okay, so just by a show of hands, if you got a question for any of the guys, raise your hand and let's chat about stuff. What do you guys want to know about? How stressed is Jason?
Looks like he's cool as a cucumber right now.
What van are you doing?
Now, Jason's seeing this as we made it through, so he's probably actually a little calmer right now.
Yes, sir.
We did them in 8 days. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no.
That's pretty good, Chip, but I do them in 44 minutes minus the commercials.
Yeah, there you go. We used to have to do them in 28 minutes plus commercials.
So I was the shop long before the TV show, and having the opportunity to be on 13 other episodes of My Classic Car, Car Crazy, Hot Rod Television, SEMA coverage, Low Car TV, gave me the experience to be into those things, but I always wanted to make sure that first and foremost, I have to go home every day. I got to make sure I get my bills paid. I have a great crew of people. I got to make sure I can pay them. So first and foremost, I won't drop my pants for TV. The cars that you see built, if they're not done this season, they'll be done for the next season. And so my client is by far the most important person. They're the one paying for the car, not the network. And so it's very important to give them their money's worth. And I want people to, when they see it built on TV, I want them to, when they see the car in real life, that they see the quality, the fit, and the finish, and the amount of hours that it took to build the car and understand that it's not just something we just threw together for sake of television. I never tell them. I just tell them it's time and materials, and I'll get it done as soon as I can. Yeah, and that's the easiest way to really, you should, when you're having a car built, you need to have a lot of trust and faith in the person that's taking your money and spending it on stuff you really, really don't need. And it's all very expensive. And to be able to get that quality of a product, any of the shops that are represented anywhere, not just at this table, there's so many great shops here. You find the person that you like the styles, that you click with, that you understand and can trust them, and then you just let them go. Because those, we're artists. We, a lot of the times, I think, do better. We want to listen to our clients. We want to build what they want. We want to make them happy. But at the end of the day, their dream, it's up to us to make their dream come out and be perfect.
Tell them.
And it's also up to us to make sure that we're not doing something that's going to be weird on the car, that's going to be out of style in a year or 2 or 6 months. Much like what Alan was talking about, building stuff that's traditional. It's proven that was in style 50 years ago. It's still in style. It's very sought after. And when you do it as well as he does, that's why you go to Alan's shop. That's why you get that car.
Chip, tell them what you say to our customers that you've said for years.
Well, at my shop, it's just like Dave's. It's time and material, and we'll spend, it could be 1.5 to 6 years building a car, but we're building a piece of art. Overhauling was a different story. Overhauling, we were stealing the car from somebody. We had to get it done quickly because we were pranking them. But I had 60 to 70 people working on that car, 24 hours a day. There was one of the builds that I kept track of the hours, and in the 1 week's time with the people that we had, if you were to charge just regular shop time, no overtime, it was $310,000 in labor to get that car done in the 8 days that we had. But, that was all because when we started filming rides, which was before Overhauling, I built a car called the Speedbird and did it in less than 6 weeks. Or I did it in less than 7 weeks. It was just over 6 weeks. And when I got it done, the network said, "We love the show. We want this to be a series. What are you doing next?" Well, I had lost 26 pounds building that car in that time frame. Because what I started doing was working 40 hours straight, then I'd sleep for 8, work for 40, sleep for 8. And I did the last 6 days with no sleep to get it done, to get it to SEMA. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. So the producer, Bud Brutzman, I gave him a list of 25 different shops and the owners and their phone number. And I said, call.
Flag right here. Sorry, everybody.
There's a flag right there.
Have we got? Oh, we're back alive now.
It's on, it's working?
Yeah, it's on. It's working.
Again.
So, like I said, I had 67 people working on that car so we could get it done. Now, when we finished the Speedbird and they had told me, we want to do this as a series, I gave Bud a list of 25 shops, the owners and their phone numbers, and I said, call every one of these guys, find out when they're starting their next build. You can send a film crew to their shop once a month. And in 10 months, you're going to have 25 episodes. I said, we can't do that in our shop. So he looked at me and he says, well, what would you do if you do a series? And Monster Garage with Jesse James, I was originally asked by Jesse to be his co-host. He wanted me to design the car and help him build those. And I turned him down because I didn't like the premise of the show. At the end, we just built a car that would perform a task, but really had no value at the end. And I said, I would do a show similar to Monster Garage, but let's go get cars out of garages and side yards that people own. They don't have the money or the means to restore them. Let's restore them for them and give it to them as a gift. That's an ultimate feel-good show at the end. And Bud Brutzman had the idea of, let's steal the car, work with their spouses or friends, and then we'll surprise them and give it back to them. So he asked me, he says, how quickly could you restore a car? And I said, well, it depends on what we're doing to it. We're going to have to leave it almost stock, and get cars that we can get all the pieces for so that we can put it back together really rapidly. I said, within a week, I could probably build a car if I had the right team working with me. So that's exactly what we did. We pitched the idea to Discovery. They ordered 7 episodes right away, and it was crazy from then on. And I set myself up to have to get cars done in 8 days or less. We did 5 years. And then we took a hiatus, and Discovery called me back, and they said, we'd like to bring Overhauling back. Are you in? And I said, well, I'm getting a little bit older, and I need some sleep. I said, I won't do it in 8 days. I said, but I'll do it in 2 to 3 weeks. I'll build a car. And that's what we did. We came back. We did 10 seasons, over 100, I think it was 170 cars.
So you said the magic word. You said the team word. So everybody, people that have done TV shows, we read the internet. People say, "Oh, you did that in 30 minutes," all that kind of stuff. So there's all that crosstalk. But what you've done is, in the first place, you've organized teams of craftsmen that you can trust, that you know are credible, and you've orchestrated them to allocated jobs that you know can happen simultaneously. Then the other thing that you've done that people don't realize, looking from the outside in, is that you've utilized the power of compounded labor. And your 24-hour shifts, your teams of 4 guys, per job.
Well, we had people that were on set working, but there was also outside vendors that were helping. There was a machine shop or the guys that were building the motor. So when I say I had 60 to 70 people, that wasn't people working for overhauling on the set. There was 5 people at a motor shop. There was 10 people at an upholstery shop. There was 13 people at a paint and body shop. And what I did is I had 3 days to get all the metal work done, fix all the rust, whatever we had to do. So by day 3, that car had to go to the paint shop, and I had 48 to 60 hours to go from raw metal to a finished paint job that we could bring back, start assembling and polishing. So when that car went to the paint shop, I had one person on every panel. Said, okay, you're responsible for that door, you're responsible for left front fender, you're responsible for the hood. There was somebody had one panel. So all they had to do was get one panel painted in 48 to 60 hours. And I had somebody on every panel so we could get it done. I would do the graphics, and it was something that was a lot of work, but I enjoyed every one. And, it was interesting. We finished the first car, and we're ready to give it back. And Bud, the producer, he tells me, he says, okay, we're going to put you back in this room and we're going to bring you out later. And I said, no, you're not. I said, I want to see the owner's face when he sees the car for the first time. So what I started doing is I stood behind the cameraman and I could watch the camera because he was zooming in on the owner. They didn't want me to be seen, so I stood behind the camera. But for me, that entire build was for that one moment when they saw their car.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second. And because I've been fortunate enough, Chip and I have been friends for a long, long time, and also my wife, Dana. People ask us all the time at shows like this, is Chip really the way he seems to be? And I tell people, and this will jerk me, just right here, get me wound up. I say, if you've ever seen the end of an episode of Overhaul and seen Chip welt up, that's it all the time. It means that much. It's that personal, and that's the way he is with everybody. And it's the truth all the time.
It's fun making somebody's dream come true. That's what it was all about.
On that note, I don't think there's a better way or a better saying or a phrase to wrap this up. So I just want to say a personal thank you to all of you guys for taking time out of your day, this amazing event, and coming up and sharing some time with us and sharing your thoughts. It's important to have this communion. I know everybody here feels the energy here, and it's because of this collective goodwill that's in this facility, in this end, and in our industry. So I want you to help me acknowledge and thank all of these guys and say thank you so much for your time today.